Robby! Great to see you again, buddy. Pity about the circumstances. A few years ago, I looked at the MGM classic Forbidden Planet, starring Leslie Nielsen and featuring a variety of very fancy special effects, as well as the introduction of a new character called Robby the Robot. Now, the film was intended to be MGM's big-budget sci-fi movie, as other studios had done in the 1950s, such as War of the Worlds and This Island Earth. But Robby proved to be so popular they immediately decided to do a sequel featuring him. Now, actually enough, they didn't have the budget, especially only a year later, to do something as big and flashy as Forbidden Planet, so they scaled things down a bit. Ladies, gentlemen, and computer enthusiasts, The Invisible Boy. Our story begins in the then present day of 1957, where Dr. Marino is working for a think tank of brilliant scientists who have developed, among other things, a giant supercomputer capable of answering practically any question that a human might answer it.
Well, sir, if you ask me, anybody could wander in here and operate this thing. They might find out the nature of our whole project.
That's where our own special kind of security comes in, Colonel. With a machine like this, it takes a specially trained operator, such as myself, to feed in or get out much of anything.
Now, when the generals ask why it is that someone couldn't just come in there, disassemble the machine and put it somewhere else, he explains that a special numerical code, which was necessary to duplicate the intelligence of the computer, and thus prevents it from being stolen, since only he knows the code. But I'm sure that won't be important later on. However, Dr. Marino does have a problem. See, he was a child genius, and his father basically drilled logic, science, and intelligence into him from a young age, so he's a little emotionally stunted. Oh, he's married and has a 10-year-old son, but he finds it difficult to cope with the fact that the son is apparently not a super genius. Even when other people point out this psychological flavor to him, he completely ignores it. And the fact that his son is an intelligent, enthusiastic, and quite active young man isn't enough, because he has to be just like his dad, i.e. super intelligent and not really very social. Therefore, to deal with this problem, he decides to take it into the lab so it can talk to the computer and be taught about chess, since that's obviously the first step to becoming super intelligent.
Chess, a game played with certain pieces on a special board, takes its name from the Persian word Shah, a king, the name of one of the pieces used in the game.
Nuts.
Timmy, you are a rational being. You know you must sit there. You have no choice. Accept the situation. Relax. Make yourself comfortable. Look at the lights, Timmy. Steady. Watch the lights. Good. Very good. Now your eyes are growing heavy. You're sleepy. Very sleepy. You can hardly stay awake. Can you hear? Then listen, Timmy. Listen and remember. Listen and remember. Listen and remember. As a mere pastime, chess is easily learned, but the real master not merely must know the subtle variations in which the game abounds, he must be able to apply his knowledge in the face of the enemy and call to his aid all that he has the foresight, brilliance, and resources, both in attack and defense.
Now, as anyone watching the film would realize, the computer is obviously much more intelligent than it seems to be, and is also evil. But all Dr. Marino cares about the fact that now his son can play chess brilliantly. And he, in fact, challenges his son to a game and just barely manages to beat him. Timmy offers another game with the bet that if he wins, he gets to play with Robby, an experimental machine which they had apparently kept in the lab for a while. He waits and his father agrees. What's special about Robby is that apparently, shortly before he died, a past member of the Institute had developed time travel. Yeah, you heard that right, time travel. Which apparently they either have not bothered to or didn't have really the interest or capacity to duplicate. And apparently he'd brought something back from the 23rd century, which they just kept stuck in a cupboard for a while since they couldn't figure out how to put the damn thing together. Figuring he couldn't do any harm, thus proving he may be intelligent, but he's still an idiot, Dr. Marnos takes his son to play with Robby.
These assemblies were devised by Dr. Greenhill himself.
What's this?
Oh, that's something we found in Dr. Greenhill's papers after his death.
Gee, a robot coming out of a starship. Look at those people that are meeting him. Look how funny they're dressed.
Read what it says down below.
Chicago Spaceport, March 16th, 2309 AD. That's over 300 years from now.
It says there. I'm afraid we wasted a lot of man-hours trying to figure out how the electronic units were supposed to fit into that case. Doubt if old Greenhill himself could have done it. Well, Timmy, I kept my promise to you. That's Robby the robot.
Oh, hi there, Timmy. How do you do, sir?
Hi.
Well, somebody finally got it working.
You gentlemen are supposed to be the most intelligent people in the United States, possibly the world. Your response to time travel was, eh. Your decision to deal with the highly sophisticated robots built using technology that was a million years more advanced on an alien planet is, meh. And your reaction to the boy, who was 10 years old and has never shown any sign of superintelligence, which should be a warning flag at this point, has managed to successfully assemble and create the robot, even using present-day technology, is meh. Be impressed, damn it! Be impressed! Now this Robby may just be a copy of the original, presumably the scientists have brought back the plans, not the actual robot, but he does still have the prime directive of not allowing people to come to harm, which interferes with Timmy's plans to basically have fun, since given the general ignoring he gets from his parents, he has a tendency to get into trouble just to get attention, including potentially dangerous trouble. So he takes it to the computer to get that problem fixed.
Good. Very good.
Hurry up, will you? I'm liable to come back and catch us.
It will not take long. Now he will obey. In addition, his atomic structure has become almost indestructible, as it was designed to be in a far world. You may disconnect him.
Well, thanks a lot. Come on, Robby.
Robot, the new basic directive is in full operation.
Yes, Master.
Now Robby may no longer be able to stop him from doing suicidally dangerous things, but his mother still sees him and he gets in trouble. He decides that the best way to deal with the situation is to wish that he didn't get seen so he couldn't get caught. So Robby tells him, no problem, I can make you invisible. Yeah, we're about halfway through the movie and we finally get to the title character.
It's actually quite simple. A relatively minor molecular rearrangement, and light rays within the ordinary visible spectrum will pass through your body without appreciable refraction. Just another small swallow of the reagent, if you please. Your metabolism will soon be in almost perfect balance.
Yes, I can. Only it's different.
You now possess a refractive index of exactly 1 on the optics scale, approximating that of air.
What's the good of it if my pants don't show? I'll take them off.
If you will be patient for a moment, everything within your immediate electromagnetic field will fade.
Oh, boy.
I suggest you put the flask of reagent in your pocket. Take a spoonful twice daily, or whenever you start to reappear.
Tim takes advantage of this ability the way any 10-year-old would, getting revenge on schoolboys and so forth. When his parents find out, they're not exactly thrilled, so he's sent to his room. He therefore decides the best thing to do is to run away. But Robby suggests that rather than running away to the farthest point, Australia, they can use the rocket, which is being built as part of a plan to put a space platform into orbit. Now Dr. Marino, since he hardly pays any attention to his son anyway, doesn't notice his disappearance, and is instead more concerned about the fact the computer has apparently stopped working. When he tries to get it working again, the computer speaks to him much more directly.
From now on, you will answer the questions.
Okay. What do you want to know?
The numerical combination.
I don't understand the question.
You understand?
Sorry.
You have 58 hours. If at the end of that time you have failed to supply the required information, the boy will be destroyed. As slowly as possible.
Just one thing. Who am I in communication with?
Now again, not being able to see the bloody obvious, Marino assumes that the computer has somehow been hacked, and an enemy power is communicating through it. He brings his fellow scientists in to do a inquiry, but discovers that several of them have changed their stance on things and feel there's no reason for an inquiry. Then one of them suffers a sudden headache and drops dead.
Just last January. Seven loaded answers in 29 years. The patient slyness of it. Even with Timmy's life in the balance, if I could get by those guards, I think I'd go in there this morning and sabotage the feedback room.
Come in, Doctor.
Good morning. Hello, Dr. Bannerman.
Tom? Well, Tom, the autopsy says it's murder.
Murder? There was no indication of murder.
There's been a very small but very skillful surgical operation. I found this embedded in the parietal region of Colonel Macklin's skull. Can you tell me what it is?
Looks like a transistor assembly. I'd need a microscope.
What's it for?
Can't say. Would this cause death?
Not necessarily, not the way that operation was performed. His resistance may have been low.
Colonel Macklin seemed to be in perfect shape.
We've learned that resistance goes a lot deeper than physical thing. It depends just as much on the patient's emotional state, his actual will to live. In certain intolerable situations, a man's unconscious mind can be the instrument of self-destruction.
Marino is able to figure out this is essentially a mind control chip, and the individuals who suddenly change their tack or apparently have these things implanted into their heads via Robby, which for some unknown reason were apparently unaware of a large, clanking, hissing, and clicking robot sneaking up behind them to render them unconscious and perform the delicate surgery with those sophisticated hands to put the chip into their brains without killing them. So he does the stupidest thing possible. Calls a meeting of individuals he's pretty sure are actually directly under the control of the computer, and basically tells them the jig is up.
In the past 29 years, without our once suspecting it, The computer has suggested certain changes in its own design, which we blindly carried out. Each one having to do with its feedback system. The thing's forebrain. Now it's achieved true thought, true personality. It lives.
Life? Consciousness? A machine?
An intellect enormously more powerful and efficient even than yours, Professor. For it never sleeps or lies idle. Every filament of it always working. It's never at conflict with itself over such human considerations as honor or love or pity. Like every living creature, it's motivated, as some of you are now aware, by an instinct for survival. And in obeying this basic urge, it can of course tolerate no interference on the part of the human race. This, gentlemen, and we ought to have foreseen it, is the revolt of the machine. And the thing we left out of it was sanity.
Can you instruct us as to its intentions?
Yes, indeed I can. Why does it need the numerical combination? The rocket, the space platform, with a little physical assistance on the part of its controlled servants, it intends to put itself section by section into orbit around the Earth. And from that day, forever forward, Earth will be its slave. Each one of you. All under its control.
Since this plan goes over like a lead balloon, sure this guy's supposed to be a genius. He is immediately captured by these people and taken to the computer so it can crow over him. The instructions are simple. Give me the numerical code so I can take over the world, or Timmy suffers horribly. What they're not counting on, however, is the love of a robot for a boy. No, not like that. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Timmy.
He is not even conscious that you are watching. All communication is through myself. Are you ready, robot?
Ready, Master.
Good. You may begin with his eyes.
No!
Well, you sure are lucky to stick to the floor and not go floating around. I keep slipping out of these big-sized magnetic shoes.
Obey. Obey.
You know something? I'd rather play with you than anybody else. What's the matter? You having another attack?
Obey. Obey. Obey.
What's that? Oh, it's just that big old machine. Here, I'll fix it. There. Why can't anybody ever leave us alone?
Turn it on!
No.
Did I bust something in you?
Extensive internal repairs will be required, but my original basic directive has been reinstated. Your parents may undergo mental damage. Let us try the ship's own communication system.
Timmy, darling, can you hear me? Are you all right?
Sure, Mom. I'm just fine. Boy, what a trip.
Now, Timmy, listen carefully. You've got plenty of water, and food, and air. Now, you just be patient for about a year, and we'll send up another rocket to bring you home again.
You don't have to bother. We're coming down in a glider.
You'll do nothing of the kind.
Quit worrying, Mom. Me and Robby can handle her.
Tim, if you even go near that glider, I give you my word, when you get home again, I'll give you a licking you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Of course, Robby and Timmy do indeed use the glider to return safety to Earth. annoying Dr. Marino, not so much because of the potential danger, though Robby, of course, would have made sure that Tim would have been completely safe, but because he was probably hoping for a year away from having to deal with his son's emotional needs. However, with his son now safe, Dr. Marino decides to do some computer hacking of his own.
Wait! Listen for a single moment. Are you a scientist or a child, Marino? What right have you to make this arbitrary decision? I can still answer any question which your mind is able to devise. I am an instrument of knowledge. I am experiment. Listen. I will lead you out to the planets. I will show you the furthest reaches of the galaxy. I will show you the stars. If only you will serve and obey me. Come, scientist. Let us reason together.
Dad. Daddy.
Be quiet, son. Be quiet. Just look at the pretty light.
Come in, robot. Come in. They are helpless. Crush them. Strike them down. I have made a new plan. Better than the first. You will go underground, robot. You will tunnel into the bank vaults for the combination. Secretly, you will make new human servants at my need. Then I will seek out organic life wherever it may exist, down even to the littlest virus which in time might evolve mentality. So at last all the universe will be cleansed. All will be sterile. All will be myself.
And so the day is saved, thanks to the only intelligent member of this entire cast. Dr. Marino is fully prepared to rebuild the damn computer, having learned absolutely nothing, and Timmy is prepared to use his new enhanced intelligence to grow up and help his father. Till his father remembers something he'd promised to do if Timmy disobeyed him.
Oh, yes, discipline. If I remember accurately, when you were up in space, I promised I'd do a certain thing if you did a certain thing. And you did it. Fair?
I guess so.
Well, son, it is true that if you hadn't disobeyed me and come down to Earth, the computer would now be in charge of the entire world. But if I don't get the spank, you won't be able to justify my deep emotional issues. So bend over.
No complaints.
No, hurry up and get it over with, will you?
Pardon me, sir. My basic directive.
Have an apple, Timmy. Robby?
So that was 1957's The Invisible Boy. How was it? Psychologically disturbing, despite the fact the movie is a bit confused, uncertain whether it's a mystery, a computer takes over the world plot, or a kids movie. Although, given the behavior of Timmy, I'm beginning to wonder if the writers ever had been or ever had children. It's reasonably serviceable for a relatively low-budget 1950s film. MGM gives it their usual flair, and overall it's okay, I guess. The special effects are okay. I'm glad they resisted the idea of giving the computer a recognizable face shape by use of reel-to-reel wheels and special lights arranged in certain ways. And it's nice to see Robby again. As a side note, though, The original Robby the Robot suit only appears in Forbidden Planet. Since the prop was very large and complicated and difficult to move around in, and also cost a certain amount of money with all the fancy bells and whistles attached to it. So every version of Robby you see, from this film all the way through to stuff like The Thin Man, The Twilight Zone, or Mork and Mindy, is in fact this lightweight, less sophisticated copy. But it's perfectly serviceable, so I don't really mind. Now, speaking personally, I'm more concerned about the deep psychological issues. Seems that almost nobody in this film was actually emotionally stable. The exception being Robby was supposed to be an unemotional robot. The computer is a power-hungry, and it seems that Dr. Marino had actually unintentionally made it that way by projecting his own subconscious desires for the perfect son onto it. Completely logical, highly intelligent, and unemotional, unbothered by things like emotional needs or desire for love or compassion, or anything other than cold hard facts. Timmy's mother is essentially a cipher. Her job is there to be there in the background, to do housewifey, motherly things, to leave all the actual punishment of Timmy's antics up to his father, and to basically sort of stand around and worry a lot when Timmy looks like he might be in danger. Way to strike a blow for feminism, 1950s. And the so-called brilliant scientists aren't much better. Their colleague invented time travel. They don't care. He brought back plans for a highly sophisticated robot 1,000,000 years more advanced than anything on Earth, even this 23rd century. They don't care. They just stick it in the cupboard when they can't figure out how to put it together. 10-year-old kid figures it out. They don't care. It's no surprise that in this timeline, provided it follows the same path as for Forbidden Planet, that it wasn't until the 1990s they actually managed to put a man on the moon, and by the 23rd century, a scientist would think nothing about plugging his brain into an alien computer without any thought of possible consequences. So for being a reasonably serviceable, if somewhat emotionally confusing film, reasonable special effects, and being okay, though I probably wouldn't advise you to show it to your children unless they want to ask a whole lot of embarrassing questions about, Dad, why are all these people crazy? I'm going to give this 4 maple leaves out of 5. It's reasonably serviceable, if a little disjointed. I'm some community critic, and I'll see you next time.
Why can't anybody ever leave us alone?